Hello.
There's the crowd. The crowd goes wild as we finally begin.
Sorry we're late. Andrew's fault.
Oh God!
Technical
It's not my
issues.
fault. It's actually this cable here's fault.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
It's gonna break everything because we were supposed to start half an hour ago, and all of a sudden we were like, "Why is there no
45
video
minutes
feed?
ago.
No video feed coming in. What's the hell's going on?"
Or
We've
your
played around with all sorts.
Sound on that. Turn that down. Not any feedback.
Yeah, so we know that it's working. Anyway, yeah, cables. Make sure you always have backup cables and backups of those backup cables if you ever do this.
Absolutely.
Because that was a nightmare to get ourselves a cable. We even run around the building here and we found an HDMI cable and we thought, oh, this will work. And that was broken too.
So we thought maybe the camera was bust, but we could see the camera was working by itself.
Well, we knew this cable was all right because we plugged that cable in. So we knew it was a cable issue, but trying to find another cable. Wow.
Turns out I have a spare kind of 6 meter HDMI.
You don't go
3D
telling everyone that
cable
you'd
in my
forgot
bag.
about one that was in your bag. Yeah.
A big 6 meter cable. Like, how can you forget? But
anyway, we're not here to talk about cables and all our technical problems. We are here for combat. We're going to fight. Eddie versus me versus Eddie. Whichever way around it is. We have 5 hearts reset on the board.
Do you? Where's the rubber? How's the rubber of yours out already? Do you have 5? Okay, I'll give you 4.5. There you go.
What do I lose half a heart for? You got to explain
Because
yourself.
of the cable.
Hang on, right, in that case you lose half a heart because you couldn't remember you had a cable. Right, this is going to be good.
Okay, this is not a good start. Right, so what are we doing today? What are we doing today? Today we have, so in episode 1, we
put
Angular
a basic
front
front end together. So we got, largely it was a list and viewing a single blog item. I mean, we're calling them blogs, but it's just a list and a view of a single entry on a data.
Yes.
From a fake database that was in the front end.
For episode 1.
Yeah.
And then for episode 2, we started plugging in the back end. Did I use Express? I used Express with Elasticsearch.
Yeah.
And you used...
You made me use TypeScript with Express. Which
Oh,
I'm not sure if that was a
yes.
benefit or not, but you told me I had to do it with TypeScript.
did,
So I
yes.
had TypeScript with Express and I'm using Mongo for my database.
Got you, okay. And so that was last episode. So this episode, we're going to tie the front end.
I'm not sure what the whistle was all
end.
about. I think we need a bit of thunder for that. Boom! It's all coming together.
All coming together. Front end and back end are going to unite and make an awesome blog post.
We're going to have a full stack environment, right? We're going from having a front end and a back end that were built individually. Whilst we might have known how we wanted them to work, we have no idea if they're going to come together because chances are the fields on the back end are different to whatever the front end's using.
Well, we built it, so we shouldn't have done that, but we might have
Probably
some
did.
naming issues.
So we're going to bring it together. It's going to be a full stack. We're going to join the two together, fix all the problems that come out the back of that, and then probably have to add a few extra features. Like at the moment, I think our back end, they can create a post, but our front end doesn't actually have a way of sending a new entry in.
That's true,
So
actually,
we might need
yes.
to put a basic
I
form in
hate
to prove
forms,
that
so
works.
can you help me? So I want to win this one.
So we're going to wrap it all
together.
together and get that full stack going.
That's true. And I won the first one. Andrew won the second one. So I think I should win the third one. So if anyone wants to write a form for me in Angular, my project is open source.
Well, don't forget next week is testing. It's all about testing next week. So how do you feel on next week?
That's true. So you can all help me next week as well. But so I think my tips are help me and like do some Angular forms or some Angular style or some styling. Not Angular styling, but styling. And then ask Andrew lots of hard questions. Ask him what he's doing, why he's doing it. Just distract the hell out of him. And that's good. We want to win, right? Because if Andrew wins, you get nothing. If I win, you get
nothing.
my love. That's
you
a lot
get to
of
subscribe.
love.
You can subscribe to Eddie's channel if you win.
Oh, that's true. Yes, I should win because I should get an extra heart because of that. I have my own channel as well as a joint channel.
Cool. Okay,
Let's
so
do it.
I think we should probably begin because we're already late. There are people watching, and I'm sure they would love to see
Some code.
what actually we get up to rather than just chatting.
I have to remind myself what I did. It was like a week ago.
I do, yeah, no, that's the downside once a week where you forget what happens in a week. A lot else goes on. So yeah, we've got everything's on GitHub. So if you want to follow along, I think Eddie's already said it. We should probably put the
I will
link
share a link.
link to the GitHub project up. You can obviously clone it locally. You can have a look at what we've built in the previous 2 episodes. You can even have a go if you want of bringing it together yourself while we're doing this. That's the beauty of open source. You can follow us along and try it out yourself. So definitely have a look at the GitHub project, which Eddie is rapidly finding the link
to
for.
Share right now. There's the link to
So yeah, take a
the
look.
project.
Feel free to star it as well, because stars are always good to support us.
Absolutely.
On GitHub, that is.
Yeah, and you
but
can star it on YouTube. I don't know how that would work, but
thumbs up on the YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube.
If you like the stream, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, double click the thumbs down. I stole that from someone else. I thought it was quite funny.
Fair enough. Cool. Right. I think it's time to begin. So
don't switch to my screen. I got nothing.
Okay, we'll start with my screen then, which
I haven't
means
got terminal open. Wait,
I click this button here.
You've already got the code up and running. You're
I've
cheating.
opened the code up, but I haven't touched it yet. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to be doing while we were talking. All right. Okay. My project. What have I got? I had a front end and I've got a back end, which is a good start because that's what I need to bring it all together. I need to start the project up so I can remind myself what it was doing. So I'm going to do an npm start.
Am I player 1 or player 2?
Hopefully was
I'm player
start.
2, right? I'm player 2. Shit. The other code doesn't look very good. So
I need to start the Mongo up, so I'm opening up another terminal. I'm going to start Mongo going, get that running. And on the back end, I'm pretty sure that's an npm start as well. Let's give it a go. Npm start.
I'm using Elastic, right? And I'm using that with Docker. Okay, let me start Docker up.
Cool. So I have a back end, I have a front end. That's a good start. And there it goes. Loads up the page, and hopefully it still works. Yep, nothing's broken. Cool. So this is my super basic front end that I put together in the first episode. At the very end of the first episode, it was broken, but I fixed it about 10 seconds after we finished the stream. So I now need to hook this up to a back end. Now, if I remember right, my back end only actually has a title, but we'll come around to that in a minute because we're going to title together, make it all work. So whilst Eddie gets his project running, because Eddie's going to be about 20 minutes behind now because he wasn't doing services or anything else.
There we go. I pressed spaceship. I don't know what that sounds like.
I can't remember what that is.
No, not at all. I just felt like
you have to hit the alarm. In fact, we didn't set the timer going.
How long have we got? 1 hour?
I'll knock 5 minutes off and I'll set a timer going.
Okay.
Whilst you get your code up.
Got code up and get it running.
Okay. Timer will give us, 55 minutes is enough, right? There's plenty of time to do this in. Right, start. Timer's going, 55 minutes. Cool. Right, so I've got a back end, I've got a front end. I need to tie them together. So I've got a list of blogs. Now, I'm pretty sure I had a list endpoint. So I'm going to have a quick look and just remind myself where that was. So here's the blog, here's the roots. And I've got a get, which does a find all on /blog. We're hosted up. I can see from the back end being started on port 3000. So in the front end, this should be really simple, hopefully. I say that. I should never use the word simple because nothing when you say simple ever is simple. That's the one big takeaway from writing software. Nothing's ever simple. But anyway, I have a service here. So this service does two things. It has a find all and it has a find one. Find one currently is hard coded to a single entry, so we're going to have to make that a bit smarter. So it's going to need to find the actual entry, which the back end doesn't do yet. So there's going to be a change to the back end and the front end to support viewing a single one. But right now the front end needs to call somewhere. Now, usually I would put an HTTP interceptor in right now to make sure that everything goes to the same, or I can configure where the back end is. But because this is a challenge and we're racing against the clock, I'm going to hard code the entire URL in. Yeah, we can put an interceptor in maybe next week. And it was, let's check the roots again. It was just blog. Yeah, so the root is blog and then /. So blog should get me back pretty instantly now, a list of blogs from the back end. But because I expect the data is different, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my front end list and I'm just going to add a little pre-tag on here to just show what that list actually looks like, because I don't believe that the data at the back end matches. So it should still be blog list. That should be correct. And I can pipe that out as some JSON. Let's see what happens. So
I have got services. You, sir, didn't have a service. It doesn't do anything. It's an empty file. But that's not the point.
It's very right. So I'm not seeing anything. That's why I'm not seeing anything. Right. Cross-origin support. Right, so we need some cause support in here.
Hey, Venkatesh, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Can you do me a favor? Can you help me? And can you distract Andrew? That is your mission. Choose to accept it. How's the audio and visual, by the way? Because I haven't got my headphones today. We've had so many cable and technical issues that I'm not sure. So let me know how the audio is. If you want us to crank up the audio a bit more or a bit down, you probably want me down and Andrew up because I talk really loud and too much. If you want me to mute myself, just let me know.
I love how Venkatesh says hello to Eddie. Nothing to me. He doesn't care about me. So
his name's Andrew. It's Andrew.
That's right. I don't feel hurt. Not at all. Not at all.
I'm obviously the favourite code mortal for today.
That's fine. That's fine. You've got to have your fans, and one day I might get a fan. Cool, but yeah, so I'm obviously missing some core stuff here, and well, I have core stuff. That's part of the problem. I'm guessing Eddie probably didn't put any core support in.
Cores.
Cross-origin request security.
Yeah,
I think that's what it stands
I don't
for.
need any of that. I'm gonna leave mine open. That's not.
Yeah,
gonna
I
work.
could make it open. At least that way I'm on a level playing field if I get rid of my core settings.
I can't remember how to make it open though. I do this like once a project and you leave it and then I forget. So yeah, you're gonna see a struggle, right? 30 years struggling. It's normal. Just keep pushing forwards, little every day, and keep pushing forwards.
Let's have a quick check online for if there's a quick fix for this, because I can't remember if I just have to put the local host domain in. So no npm for cores. Let's check the options. Let's go a bit more specific. Local host. What do we have to do? So cores middleware looks good.
I haven't even got my app up and running yet. Let me get my app up and running.
Use cores. I think that's what I'm doing.
Distract Andrew.
Use cores. I'm setting the options. The options set for origin true, which I thought was pretty much anything that comes in should work.
Oh yes. Okay. Yours is boring. Let me switch to mine.
Okay, go on. Then
What
show
button is
yours
it?
if you want.
Eddie. This one.
Show Eddie. Yeah.
Okay. This is how you do
Actually,
it.
I've just realised our video feeds are missing on the screen. People can't see us because of the cable problems, and I had to create a new instance and I haven't updated it on there. So
I was
if
waving
you
at
want to see
Venkatesh.
everyone, you have to sort of turn the camera on to wave. The camera should take priority over everything on the stream deck.
Venkatesh, I was waving at you and I was saying, hey, Andrew busted the setup. Are you able to
Hang
edit
on.
now?
That's why I lost my half heart and you lost yours for the wrong bloody cable. Anyway.
Are you able to edit now? I think my hair looks good today. I'd like everyone
I
to see it when I'm coding.
Have a look, see if it lets me make
Okay,
the
while
change.
Andrew's doing that, I want to get back to coding. So hopefully you see my screen. And I've just brought up the app I had from the first episode. I was saying the first season. This is the first episode. And this is the blog post I've got. And but it's hard coded, and I've also got the API working. So if I go to I did save my requests. So if I do a get to blogs, and I think
It's going to let me do it. I'm sorry.
No.
I'll have to fix it next time. Oh no! Sorry, they don't need to see us. They want to. The code's more interesting.
I don't think my screen. Oh, my screen sharing is sharing. Cool. So this is the request to the back end, and it's hard coded, I think. Let's check. But we need to tie the front end to the back end together. So let's have a look. So as you can see, I got post 1, post 2, and post 3 with all this lorem ipsum, but on the API, the data is clearly different. So yes, it's not tied together. So let's tie it together. Let's have a look. So if I go to my front end and I do services, let's have a look. So in this service, we want to get rid of this hard-coded data. And let me have a look. So in the find all, I return a list of the posts as observables. So let's now get rid of this data. So post will just be an empty array. Of type post model. And now I actually want to make a request to the backend. And I cannot remember how to do this. I think it's the HTTP client in Angular. So let's have a look. Venkatesh, please jump in and give me any help, or anyone else. I would really appreciate it. So I'm guessing it's constructor, and we will say we want a HTTP. I'll just put HTTP with type HTTP client. Bring that in, and do that. And then, if I remember correctly, we now want to. We don't need an of anymore because it will be the correct. It will be an observable. So we want to say this HTTP dot. Oh, I need to put private in front. Dot get. I'm just going to hard code the URL. If I remember correctly, it's just a URL as the first parameter. I think we can send a generic as well, but let's have a look. So it will be HTTP. And if I go back to the request that we made over here, I'm just going to copy that link. Okay, why is it throwing an error? Probably because I need to put the type in. So I love TypeScript. Put that in. There we go. That looks good. So it's returning. We hope it's returning that. Let's have a look. Let's just hit save. The UI should reload, and the data should now look different. Let's have a look. Oh, I got an error. Null injector error. I think because the HTTP client I haven't included. I'll probably need to include it in the module if I remember correctly. It's been so long. Is this the right place? Let's see. I think it's here.
You're not asking for help, are you?
I am. For HTTP client, you put it in the module declarations, right?
HTTP client.
Or do you put the HTTP client module?
You need the module, yeah, in
the import.
The module, yeah. You need to import that, yeah. Don't put it in the declaration.
Yeah.
The import, yeah.
Cool. Andrew was being nice. He was helping me. So
Should have told you to put it in like the export, and you'd be sat there going, "Why is it not?" I'm not that mean.
okay, so now let's have a look. So hopefully that error will be gone.
I did get a hey look. I wasn't reading the chat, but Venkatesh say hi. I've got a friend.
Did you say how do you wear?
I will bring
Andrew.
Venkatesh to my side. He's going to stop helping.
He doesn't want to go to the dark side. So now I have no access control. I have a cause error. How did you fix your cause error?
I'm working through it still right now.
Okay, let's switch to Andy's screen and let's watch him work through it.
I did try turning it off, but it wasn't happy with being turned off. So it is needed.
Okay.
I've got to think now why. So normally the issue is that an
cause.
origin is not being sent to the back end. Now why would the origin not be getting sent? It should be.
And then do you have to enable it at the back end to say accept everything?
Well, I've got it accepting everything. So I've got it set to origin true.
But did you have to?
You have to. I've added the cause
Oh, you
library,
did,
so you
yeah,
need you need the cause library there,
Okay.
so it knows to do it. Credentials shouldn't really matter. I mean, I've kind of got a default setup that I use generally going on there. But in the headers, I should see an origin being sent, and that could be a reason why. Origin is being sent with HTTP localhost 4200. So I'm going to just try changing the origin to just be exactly what's being sent, which is localhost 4200. And that should reload. There's always a silly little stumbling point that you don't even think would be a problem at the start of these.
It's standard, right?
Ah, right. This is looking better though. So it looks like it accepted me hard coding the correct value for the origin. But I now have a new issue, which is that ng4 wants an array. So if I look at the network traffic again, I'm just going to reload the page so I don't have all the old stuff, because I'll turn preserve logs off.
Oh, I've got that one as well.
And if I preview that, right, so I can see it coming through. So it comes through. It's slightly different to how the code was. So the code was just a list, but this is an actual list going on here.
Mine works, kind of.
Nicely done.
Kind of.
So I can change this, and I can say that when we get the blog list, I just want the list value out.
Oh, Venkatesh says it's star for the cause header to allow everything. I kind of didn't put anything in there. I didn't put a star or anything, and mine works.
True is supposed to behave the same as star, I believe, on that library, unless they've changed something recently.
I didn't put anything. I just put cause open close bracket. I copied out of Stack Overflow.
Oh, yeah, so it would be deferring to defaults, which is
Everything.
allow everything, yeah.
Right, okay, got you. Cool. And I have it coming through, but as Andrew said, I have the wrong data, so it's kind of like I didn't marry up my front and my back end very well.
Yeah, so I need to make this slightly cleverer, because the TypeScript doesn't currently understand my blog list. So I'm going to change this and call this, I'm going to call it like REST list or something. I'm going to create a new type in my models. I'm going to call it REST list.ts.
Title, subtitle, description.
Export interface, REST list. Okay, and this is going to be a list of type something. So REST list needs to support generics. Good old generics. A list is going to be just T. Be an array of T.
You gotta love generics, right? It's just, I don't know how you lived without them before.
I haven't for very long. I went from Java, then I went to JavaScript for a while with ES6 and whatnot, which lost generics, and then I'm back to TypeScript, which has got generics. So didn't
around in
spend too much
circles.
time without generics. Okay, so I can import that, and that's fine. Do I want to make it tidy? Go on, people might want to see. So what you can do with TypeScript as well is have an index file in here. And in this index, I can just export straight out from the other ones I've got. So I'm just going to export my blog TS. Export start, I had the word from in there. And also the rest list. So now in the component here, I don't have to have two different ones. I can combine these together and pull both of those straight out from the models folder. Makes things a lot cleaner. Right, and blog list is going to be a rest list of blog. Why is it not happy with list? List exists. It's an array. Not there on property blog. That's interesting. Oh, it's probably because the find all blogs doesn't know yet. Yeah, it has to be updated here too. Rest list there too. There we go. And blog. So it knows that returns the right type. And blog list actually wants to be an array of these. There we go. Okay. And now I don't need the rest list back in that one. Nice little bit tidy up. That can be a rest list too. Right, I think that fixes all the TypeScript errors. So if I go to here, that looks better. I can see here on the blog page now, this is what I'm getting back from my database. It's got an ID in it, it's got a title and a created date. Obviously my fake data, I was having a title, an image, and a date. So I've got 2 out of 3 items from the back end. Let's just work with those 2 first and just update what we need to get those through. So blog list, let's do a list through, should be cycling through.
Venkatesh says, we're so bad at the chat.
we've
Use
got
the
this
middleware to set access control, allow origin header to start in the back end. So I didn't do it as star. I did it as just blank. No, I guess it's the same as star.
I
How
think
did
the
you do
defaults.
yours?
Well, mine was set to true, which is what I normally use, which is supposed to reflect star as well. It's supposed to be an accepted value that it does. But yeah, star would be the normal origin for accept anything. But I've hard coded mine right now to just be the exact front end that's calling. So only local host can use my back end right now. Unless you were another back end. Obviously, browsers and other servers use cores differently. Only a web browser reflects cores.
Yeah, because server to server, it doesn't care. So it's kind of like security for poor man's security in a way, really.
What, having star?
No, having cores, because if you did it server to server, you don't have that.
No, you could put a wrapper. You could create your own server that just is a wrapper for someone else's service.
Exactly, yeah.
And all of a sudden, you could effectively be using all this stuff and break all the cores.
Yeah, so cores
requirements.
is kind of a bit shit.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's other things you can add in there. You can do additional things.
Yeah, where the request is coming from, all sorts of things like that. But I'm doing cores by itself is kind of. It's I don't know. It's kind of a bit. I don't know, a bit like, how can you say it? The kids version. It's Game Boy security.
Yes. I'm actually looking at this, and it looks like most of my code is still working. Because I'm using a created date, and I'm using title. The only thing that's missing is image, because actually, as I look here, everything's correct. Entry 2, yeah, that's the title. 7:32 on the 10th of the 30th was when it was created, which is probably about right. And this one here, 23rd of the 10th, that was a little over a week ago, which, yeah, that would be about when that was done, 8:25. This looks like it's working. It's just there's no images because I'm not supporting images.
That's new.
So perhaps I could add some image data to the API. Let's do that quickly.
Just lost all my work.
You've lost all your work.
I don't know what happened there.
Just do get reset hard and start over.
Yeah, it was just
Put you back a little bit.
I don't know what's going on. It's fine. It wasn't a massive amount, but it doesn't help.
So I'm going to add another one, image string to my back end. So I want to have another field in my database. I'm going to need to have that as well. So I'm going to add that into here. It's going to be an image. It's a string, which doesn't have to be required. Let's take that out. We might make it optional and trim that down. In the controller,
Cool stuff.
yeah,
we
could add that. So we can say image is a potential field. So request body image is a possible field when we create it. I'm going to try and do a create page if we get time. How are we looking on the clock? The clock says...
Not long.
Clock says 36 minutes. That's not bad for time. Still got a few more things to do though before we worry about images. Right, so I do have something there, so I could just connect to my database, Mongo, and we can add, what database was I connecting with? CodeKombat, obviously. So use CodeKombat. Show collections. So we've got blogs. I'll make the bottom a little bit bigger because it's a bit small down there. In fact, generally, hopefully you can read the bottom. I don't think I can actually expand the terminal on this screen. So I'm going to just quickly have a look. So if I just do db blogs find, we can see them in there. There's a few entries. Let's give them all the same image. I can't remember what image was being used in the part. In fact, I could look, because they were hard-coded files, which I'll be able to delete in a moment because we're not using the hard-coded files anymore. But in the list, we could just drop this one here in. We'll have that for all of them for now. So db blogs update. And I'm going to update everything. I don't really care about which one. I want to set the image, or make sure you put set in. That's one of the things that I sometimes do by accident. Never do this on a production database, because if you do what I was about to do then and miss the word set, you would wipe pretty much all your data. And then multi-true. Okay, so I'm going to set all entries to have that image go. Right, found for, updated for. Good sign. So if I go here, refresh. Okay, image is showing now in the JSON. I can probably get rid of that JSON now. There they are. The same cat is showing for every blog that's in there. Awesome. That's what we wanted. So I'm going to take out that pre-tag at the top. Don't need that anymore. Done with that. And that's cool. So if I hit view more now, it's at the moment going to go straight through again to a hard-coded entry. Doesn't know much about it, doesn't know which one it's looking for. So let's fix that so it's actually going to a particular entry. So at the moment that's coming from this component here that's shared. It says router link view, and then what we want to do is add on the end of that. It's basically going to be the blog ID. So blog ID, which at the moment is not a known field. So we're going to have to make that a known field. Where's the blog service? Blog there. So underscore ID was what we were getting through. As far as JavaScript is concerned, that's a string. Okay, that looks good. It goes through. It's no longer red, so everything's picked it up. So if I go back to here, go to the list, and if I click one of these now, it's not going to go anywhere because it doesn't know what to do. But so let's have a quick look. Inspect. It should be saying, yeah, here we go. href view and then the ID. Perfect. So the routing now needs to understand that. So it's going to be view / it's colon, I believe, blog ID. And then the view component, I'm going to need to pick something up from the router. So we're going to go private, we'll just call it root, and then it's activated root is the one we want. I'm going to put that above because that's... So I normally order the constructor based on things that come from Angular and then things that I've added. So Angular gets priority. And when it find one down here, it's going to need to know what the ID is. So I'm going to say this this root, and then a snapshot.
Let me know when I can... Oh, Venkatesh has got a question for you, Andrew.
Oh, params. Yeah, go on then. Sorry, I need to read this more. Oh, questions for you. I'm ignoring that. What is multi-true in Mongo? So on update, that there's three things for update. There's the aware clause effectively is the first block. So that there was a empty set of parameters or an empty object at the start because I didn't have aware clause. I just wanted everything to be updated. The next block is what do you want to change? And that's a Mongo query. Well, it's not Mongo. It's a Mongo update query. So set says just add this or change this, but maintain everything else. So don't change anything else. If you missed the set, it would wipe any other values in that row effectively. And then the last block are the Mongo options effectively. A multi-true will tell it to go through everything it finds and update all of the entries. If you miss that out, it will only do the first entry it finds, and you would never update any of the other ones. So multi-true is just a way of saying update the whole lot. As I said, not necessarily good on a production environment unless you've got a script that you've heavily tested that's running these commands. But for local development, I'm not so worried because that's fine. So what I need to do on my blog is I need to pass through what I'm doing. So I don't really like putting stuff like that into here. So I'm going to just move that and just say const blog ID equals, and then this root snapshot params. So it's a query param that's coming through, or a root param that's coming through. And it's called blog ID. We know it's called blog ID because in the routing module I called it blog ID. So it has to match from the routing module this :blog ID inside the view component. And then I'm going to pass that into here, which currently doesn't accept a parameter. So this find one blog needs to be updated. And that's going to take I'll call it a blog ID as well, which as far as it's concerned is a string. And again, I'm going to take the URL. So it's going to be localhost, no longer the JSON file, blog, and then the ID we want to call. So I can do this with just a little bit of ES6 here.
Thank you, Venkatesh, by the way. I think it's a really great question. Just don't be shy, keep them coming. It can be related to what we're doing. It can be related to the weather. It can even be political. As long as they're directed at Andrew, ask all the questions you want.
I'll try and keep an eye on the screen a little bit better as well as to what the questions are that are coming in, because I'm so focused on trying to make sure that this week Eddie doesn't have well, he's always got a chance until he breaks something and he has to do a git reset. That's what I'm waiting for.
I'm not going to break anything.
So that's now supporting that. So if I go back here, blog ID comes through, but I now need a back end for that as well to match it. So my controller right now only understands how to do a create and a find all, because we never did a find one last week. So I need to add a root on the back end too, which will do a get. I think it's the same. I think it's colon as well on the back end, fortunately. Find one. Now we'll go to the same controller and we'll put that in. So it'll be very similar to the find all. So I'll duplicate that. Find one. So I've got the request. We've got all of this. And I should be able to say blogmod find one. Yeah, we'll do find one. I could do find by ID. I'll do find by ID. I think that's harmless enough. And blog ID, whereby blog ID will also be coming from the request params and blog ID. And then this will be a blog, it won't be a list of them, and we can send back to send the whole blog. We don't need to put it into any kind of object because it will be an object. Otherwise a 404, if it's not found, we get an error. I think that should be it. That's nice and simple, isn't it? That almost seems too easy.
Now you're just showing off.
No, now I'm worried, because when everything's too easy, it's really not. Something goes wrong, which it has. Could not connect. Oh, that's because the back end is restarting, right?
Okay, there we go. Have Here's something working entry. In a second.
I'm just going to click on entry 2, and with any luck, it goes through and I see entry 2. There it is, entry 2. It worked. Single entry, come back.
I'm just doing that right now as well. Give me 2 minutes and I'll be there.
I'm going to click a different one. I'm going to click sending blog post. This should show sending blog post. There it is. It's working. Bingo. I'm going to do a commit before I break everything. Because that's one thing I was doing wrong last week, because I wasn't making enough commits. So I have working code. So always, if you've got working code, commit the stuff. Even if it's just to a branch. I'm going to create myself a new branch. Git checkout -b, and I'm going to call it episode. I'm going to put player 1 p1 E3. So player 1, episode 3. Or season 1 maybe. Season 1, episode 3, player 1. Cool. That's a bit of a funky branch name. Git add all. Git commit. I don't know what we call it. Feature. Fullstack, let's call it. Fullstack. Joining of front end and back end. That's it. There's no issue number for that.
Damn it, why is it not working?
Cool. I'll put my GPG key in. Whew, right. Safe. I can now break stuff again. Right, what should I do next? I've got a list, I've got a viewing one. I guess I should do with a form to add one from the front end. That would be quite nice to do, so we can actually create a blog on the front end. So let's close down the back end for now. We know we have a back end endpoint back in here. At the moment, it only takes an image and a title. That's fine. That's all we want to send through. So I have 2 form fields, really simple. I'm not going to do any kind of funky styling to it, because unfortunately I don't get the benefits of Eddie having material available to him. So I'm going to have a really basic looking front end for the moment. If we get a chance, maybe episode 3 of this round, maybe we'll try and see if we can make things a bit prettier. Sorry, 5 I'm thinking. 5. Did I not say 5? I thought I said 5. Yeah. Episode 5. So next week, episode 4 will be testing. Episode 5 perhaps will be just do some fun stuff. So we might make it look a bit prettier. And that's when I'll have to create my own custom inputs and stuff, but for the moment I'm not doing that. I'm just going to create a new view. So I'm going to have a create view, and inside that create we're going to go create component, and I'm going to need, I'll just probably need an HTML file. I don't think I need anything fancy right now.
Okay, I've got the ID coming through, slowly getting there.
So you can show people in a minute, but I'm sure people would love to see me create a little component that's going to be a front end. I think they would,
and then it'll give me a chance to get mine working.
Yeah, I know you need a few minutes.
This
is the problem, you see. You were cutting so many corners on the previous ones, you're now falling behind. You're having to put those corners back in. So remember, if anyone ever says, it's okay, I can make this work quickly, just make sure they're not cheating by like not putting a service in or doing something else. It's all right, you'll catch up, but it just might take you a bit longer.
Yeah. I just realised we spent all that effort on to get that camera set up, but no one can actually see us.
We can put the camera on for a minute. Go on, let's say hello to everyone. I don't know who's joined. We've got a few people watching. Cameras up.
I think.
Hello, we're here. We're stressed. We're tired. I was up at like 5:30 this morning. I played a round of golf. Then I went to work.
5:30, you had a lie-in.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
But coding is always time for coding.
Absolutely. And the fantastic thing is, while I was going around the golf course, all I was thinking about was, coding. How am I going to beat Eddie this evening?
Beat Eddie. He's probably really thinking, how can he keep up? So don't worry. We'll show him how it's done. You know, with a younger team.
Marginally. By a couple of months younger.
Yeah, every day counts.
Okay.
So yes, okay. Keep the questions coming to Andrew. Keep him distracted. I've busted mine. I need to get it working, and then I'll show you what I've done.
Cool. All right, back to my screen then. So I'm creating a component. It's going to be for creating a blog. I created a component to create a blog. Yeah, cool. Export class. So this is going to be my create component. It's going to need to initialize some stuff, so we'll have an implement on in it. So part of Angular's life cycle, before it starts to show things to people, we want it to process some stuff. Make sure I put the modifier in. And we're going to do some stuff with forms. So I'm going to have a public, I'll call it blog form. And that's going to be a form group from Angular. Again, Angular supporting all these funky features. And then inside here, we're going to also need a constructor, because I need an instance of something that actually can build a form up. So we have a private, I'm going to call it form, which is a form builder. So again, this is Angular's way of creating forms. So you can do all kinds of funky nested forms and stuff. And this is part of the reactive forms world of Angular. Inside the init, then, we can tell it that this blog form is going to have a couple of fields. So this form, and it's going to be a form group. And in that form group, it's just 2 fields, a title, which starts as undefined. We can make it required, so we can have validators, not validity, validators dot required in there. And then we can have an image as well, the other field, which was not required. We said we would make that optional. Need to do something on the front end, perhaps, to say if it doesn't get set, what's the front end going to look like? Okay, that looks good. Why are we getting a little underline? Because we haven't yet declared this. Okay, so we need to call that into the module. So we've got blog. I don't want to call it create component. Where is it? It's called create. And the other one we prefix these with blog, I think. So let's do the same. Just double check. Yeah, blog. So let's prefix this with blog 2. Blog create component. There it is. Okay. So that allows Angular to call it in, but we need a root for it. So let's add a root. And we'll call it create. And that's going to use the blog create component. Okay, we're all in. So we have a root for it, we have a component for it. There's no HTML in there yet though, so we need a form. So form, and if memory serves, it's a form group. And it will be the blog form. No, didn't want to put it in, blog form. And now we need some inputs, so we're going to go cheap inputs, just straight off the HTML stack. It needs to have a form control name to it. So what's the control? This is going to be the title. And likewise, we're going to need another one for the image. Let's be a tiny bit fancy and give them a label. So label image URL, we'll say, because we're just passing in URLs. And we can tie the two together with a for. So for image. We'll give this an ID of image. We don't really need more than that. Obviously, you can give them names and so forth. When in episode 5 we get around to it, we will create a component that has all the bits we need so that we can manage that centrally.
Yes.
Eddie's getting excited, but let's finish this first. So we have a title as well.
Shit, one error. But it's working with an error.
You can make these wild claims.
I think
working.
Venkatesh has a question for you again. Thank you, Venkatesh.
Oh, atomic design. I have to say, I've never heard that phrase before. Have you ever heard atomic design methodology?
Yeah, everyone has, haven't you? I think you should research it
I've
now.
never heard that phrase, Venkatesh. Oh, well, let's have a quick look. It's probably I probably know about it under some completely different name is why. Atomic design methodology. There it is. I haven't come across this phrase before, so this is quite interesting. Coined by Brad Frost. So it's not a real thing. It's just someone. It's like us coining the term pipeline-driven development.
That's a real thing.
It is a real thing because we came up with that name.
Exactly.
Nobody else yet has tried to coin the phrase pipeline-driven development. So someone out there has coined this phrase, which probably just means building a component that you can reuse anywhere you want in your site.
I think you
Let's
should
have a read.
Read it out.
It involves breaking a website into its basic components, which are then reused. What do you know? So it's all about just building components, which, yes, I think it's a very good idea to try and break your site into components that become building blocks that you can reuse everywhere. And when you're doing that, so a great example, I can't really use that example, can I, of clients at the moment. We are very close to some cool news, hopefully, though, with our client. We have potentially convinced, do I get to say the industry?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I say UK bank.
They're a big UK high street bank, and we have just about got them turned around for the open source world. So there could be some awesome news coming from them. I'd love to say next week, but I get a feeling it's going to take a couple of weeks to have conversations about what it means and so forth. But then we can properly show you a bit more about what's been going on with them. But yeah, for there we have a branding project. So for a button, for example, where you have a button on the site, because it's a component, it has rounded edges. If we want to change them to square edges, great. Change it in one place, the whole site gets that change, which really shocked them the first time they asked for a change like that, because they thought making a small change to a component was going to take a while for us to go through, check every page on the site, make sure they all look the same. No, one place, hit the button. I mean, as far as I was concerned, we didn't even go and check. The only reason I had to go and check was because they wanted us to prove that it had updated everywhere. So yeah, definitely go down component-driven stuff. Atomic design, great. Will I use that as a phrase going forward? Perhaps not. But yeah, good question. Certainly threw me but I made an assumption it was probably something like this, because when everyone talks about atomic stuff in programming, it all means you put something in, it changes, and then you get something out without a sort of delay. It happens there and then it's done.
I think you should switch the camera when you talk
But I'm about to go back to code.
To show your passion.
My passion, what, for writing software?
Are you going to show more
I hate
code?
writing software. I'd rather go play golf. Can we go play golf now?
Okay, after you get yours working.
Mine is working. I've got to get the component to just save, so I'm really close here. I just need a button on the page to actually press. So a button.
Okay, and I need some help.
Save or create, perhaps. Create blog.
Venkatesh says congratulations. Thank you, Venkatesh. We really appreciate it. We're really excited. And we can really show you a lot more behind the scenes.
It's like congratulations to Eddie because he managed to fix something.
No, but we managed to get a client, a high street
I know,
bank,
to get them to go open source. I tell you what, it started, I think the first time we spoke to them about it, I was going to say February, but yeah, okay, maybe January. February time was the first time we spoke to them. We took them, we got them onto GitHub. We had them create their own user accounts on GitHub to create their own little project on there with just a basic website, which was all written in Markdown. And from there, it's gone to mini hackathons in the evening, conversations about pros and cons, talking about the risks, because one of their assumptions was when you open source something, people can access the data in your databases. So we had to understand that, no, your data is completely separate to your code base. I tell you what, the number of conversations we've had, tiring, but it should all be worth it because we've just about got there. It's gone to the very top, sort of the CTOs of the bank, and people have been having these conversations and ratifying it. And they're just about willing to take the jump and say, yeah, okay, let's give this a go, see what it's all about. So they're really keen, once we do get this thing open sourced, to see contributors, because one of the things that they still believe, and we haven't necessarily corrected them on it, is they're going to get free people writing code for free to their projects. I'm not quite sure quite why they believe that, but anyway, nothing's ever done for free per se. It's all done to just show you're there, give your visibility, make people aware of what your skills are, so that when they start hiring, and this is one of the things we have solved them, is that when they start hiring, the first place they should be looking for is the contributors of their project.
Absolutely. And the good thing is, again, we can't mention the name at the moment, but they allow us to work remotely. They allow people to work remotely, and they also want to start potentially offshoring half the team. So I think it opens a lot more doors to our community, which we're quite keen about. So that's probably next year. But again, it's a step in the right direction. It's a step to getting you involved in some exciting open source and paid projects. So yes, if you do want to potentially get involved from a monetary value in the future, we definitely recommend contributing even on the open source side to small suggestions, improvements, bug fixes, tests, whatever it is. And that way, when we take it to phase 2 or phase 3 later on, then the idea is we can get people involved and say, look, these are the people you should hire. They've already been contributing to the project. They already know how the project works. They know about the ins and outs of it. You don't even have to do interviews, right? You just say, look, these are the features. Just kind of carry on with what you're doing, but here's your money. So I think nothing's guaranteed, but I think it's really important to get involved, really. Yeah. So that's key. We're working towards that, and we'll share more about that in the future. It has to be distracting Andrew, not me.
It's because the word open source came up.
I know.
Eddie cannot resist.
It's just, why would you not want to open source a project? Oh, don't get me into this.
But that is the title. So again, some of the stuff that we've been talking to them about, you can find on the Code Mortals GitHub project.
I'll get a link.
Eddie's going to get a link to it. We have open sourced. We had to make it generic, so we had a discussion with them. Would they be happy with it? We open source the stuff we've talked about onto our own profiles. They said, yep, that's fine. Just needs to be generic, so it doesn't name anybody.
Oh,
hopefully we haven't named anybody.
The wrong clipboard. I posted some HTML. Oops.
Nothing wrong with that.
I think I deleted it, but it's still there. I don't know what the hell's going on. Okay.
But yeah, we have on GitHub a project that we've just written some stuff down. We've tried to keep it a little bit more business focused as to why you should open source stuff. But yeah, there is a line in there that literally says, I'm going to say, I say literally says, and I'm trying to remember what it actually says, the exact
It's-
word. But
it
basically
says,
it says,
don't think about why you should not why you should open source your project. You should really think about why you should not
open source it,
because
because it's so much harder to come up with reasons not to do it. But everyone can always come up with a reason, why they should be doing it. There's lots of reasons why you should,
and the ones that are.
but there's not many reasons why you shouldn't.
And if someone says, well, you shouldn't because we're going to put passwords in there or private tokens or private keys, then
that's
tell
just
them
bad
they're
practices.
fired because that's
And if they have
bullshit.
done that, you can still open source it, just rotate those keys.
Yeah, but hopefully, even if it's a private project, you wouldn't do that because
You shouldn't.
it's just such bad
But
practice.
because it happens, if it has happened, and there is that risk, right? And it's all written in this document that if you didn't open source it from day one, and you've got people that don't know what the history is, there's a good possibility that someone's done something bad in the history. So assume your keys and everything are at risk. When you open source it, rotate them all. Assume you're starting from scratch, but you're doing it with a clean slate of any security concerns, just clean those up. And that's all it is. I mean, they're the kinds of problems. Then they're easy to fix, but they're the kinds of problems that do exist.
I have a problem. Can I steal the screen? I need some help.
I wanted to get the create working so people
Okay,
can
you
see
go,
it.
right,
I'm so close to having the create working. So I've got the screen up now, the camera's up. Turn the screen back
Okay.
on. I'll quickly say, whilst the camera was on, there's two things I did. One of them is I've added on the form that when I hit submit, it calls a method called save blog. And in the create, there's a save blog method, which is just going to log out what's in the form. What I need to quickly do is put a link to this. So I'm going to say on the list page, I'll just put a big button, put a link, I'll say, not a button. I'll put an router link to the create form.
It's working. It is working.
Create a blog, we'll call it. And the router link is going to be to /blog. I think that's what the area is. And then create. So if I go to the code now, let's close the atomic design stuff. And
I've got an error.
here
Do we care?
we have an example entry. So I got create a blog at the top. I can hit that. It goes nowhere. Why does it go nowhere? Because it's probably not on blog, is it? Let me check. No, we're not. We're just going straight on create. So let's get rid of that. It's just straight to create because we've not actually namespaced this stuff yet. There we go. Create. So there's no formatting. There's just a title, an image. If I open up the console, once Eddie steals it, I might tidy up the format slightly. But let me just quickly check that if I put something in here, testing, URL, HTTP, blah, who cares, create blog. And in the console down here, there it is. So I can see in the console it's coming through. So I need to just send that to the back end. Let's get that go to the back end really quickly. I know Eddie's really keen to show.
No, I'm not.
problems.
I've realised that I cut some corners last week and it's really hurting me now.
See, don't cut corners.
It would have been really easy to do it last week, but now I have to kind of delete the entries, recreate the entries, or update
Just
them.
bear in mind, you're down to 8 minutes.
Shit, we've got 8 minutes left.
9 minutes. It's just under 8. You better
Okay,
hurry.
let's do the alarm. We need the 10-minute alarm. Da, 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 da. I can't make the alarm noise, but the alarm noise is being made. And we are in trouble, people.
Oh dear, Eddie, what have you done? This blog form, I'll get the raw value and pass that through to the create. So I can delete that. I haven't got a create yet in the service, so I'm going to go into the service. I'm going to go public create. And then we need a blog, and that's going to be a type blog.
Okay, you know what? Plan F.
Doesn't need to return anything. I suppose it would be nice. Put the observable back. Yeah, go on. Let's pass the observable back. It's always good, really, to pass it back. I think from the back end, it's just a yes, no. So we'll call it a void. We don't really need anything else. Return this HTTP post in this case. It's going to return back void, and we're going to post to a location, which we will name in a moment, and we're going to post the blog data through to that. Okay, so the path is going to be the same as the list path. So we're just using a different verb. The list was on get, we're on post now. Straight to the blog with the blog data. That should be about it. So when we call that now, it will need to know it has to subscribe to it. And again, I could just put something simple out just to make sure that we hit it. So I'll just put a console log here just to say done. Well, it does actually return a blog, if I remember right. When we hit this, create, it does return a blog. So I could actually return something from this, because I believe it returns the blog that's been created. Let's do that. In which case I can say the blog that was created, which will now include an ID when it comes back to us. Okay, let's have a look. Put that through. Lots of code doing things. So test image URL. Let me just grab a simple image. I'll just take, we'll take byte off of our website, copy image to address. Byte makes for an awesome blog image. Create. It comes back there. No, let's have a quick look in the network traffic. There it is, headers. Okay, it's just a 201. We weren't returning the data. I wasn't sure. I thought we were, but I might add that as well when Eddie steals the screen, just to return the data back. What I should do, though, is once it's been created, we really want to go back to the list page. So I'll go to the list page now. I should see, probably at the bottom, there it is. There's bytes sat there at the bottom of the page with the test. So that create worked. But what we should really do is when we do create it, we should probably redirect them. And to do a redirect, again, that's pretty straightforward. We just say private router, and we can get an instance of router, which again is from Angular. And rather than doing a console log down here, we can just say this router navigate. And we're just going to be going straight back to the home page because we haven't got any other pathing going on. So just go straight to there. So let's try that one more time. Let's add another one in. Create a blog. I'll call it test2. We've got another picture of byte. Let's take the high one. Copy that image address. Post that in. Create. There we go. Straight back to the blog. And at the bottom, it should already be there. There it is. Test2. Didn't have to hit reload. It all loaded because it waited until after the create occurred. So that's where the subscribe made sure that we've got it first. And we can see it. So that's create done. I'm happy for Eddie to take the screen now because I've shown you how to create something.
Give me 30 seconds.
You're really that far behind? You can't be that far behind.
I'm so far behind. I am so far ahead.
Awesome. Well, whilst you do that, then I'll add a tiny bit of formatting to my page. So I'm going to just wrap a div around each of these. Let's do that. A div on this one. We'll tab those in a little bit. So instantly now that should be on 2 lines. So go to the create page. There we go. Not much to it, it's just a little bit. I think I haven't really got time to build anything else. I don't want to finish this with broken code. I'm at a place where I could just stop now and call it done for the day. But there are 4 minutes left on the clock. So what should I do in 4 minutes?
You think about it. Should I steal the screen?
Okay, I'm going to say if anyone has something they'd like me to add in the next, well, by the time you hear this, it's probably 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, but I'm going to end up with something broken if I start something now as well. Should we call the alarm there?
No, not unless you are finished. I mean,
I'm not finished, but I'm going to bust something. Okay, let me try.
You're right. I will break something if I do much else.
I think you should do some more. Let me switch to my screen and let me show what I can do. So I'm going to bring up materials docs because we're using material with Angular. So I bring over material. So what I've just done is let me show you. I've got my list working. This is reading data from the API which is reading data from Elasticsearch. We haven't got any search functionality yet or any aggregations or anything like that. We will do that next week, the week after. What I've done is I can list. So I go on to a number 2. If I click on this, I can go to number 1. There is an error appearing saying image undefined, but I have got ngIf around that. I don't understand why that's throwing that error, but let's just pretend it's not there. It's okay, because look, if you clear the console, it's gone. Poof. Magic. So what we're going to do, I want to do the add next. So I've created the add component, really, really simple in Angular. All you have to do is create a folder, create 3 files, or even 2 files, but I've created 3. Create component HTML, create component SCSS, and then create component TS. And the TS looks dead simple. It's just like this. So what I wanted to do is just put a form on the page. We've got a couple of minutes to go. So if I go to material, and we go to forms, we're going to need title, description. So let's go to input. Let's see what inputs they've got. Let's go for a really, really simple input. I mean, they've got some fancy ones. I'm sick of these. Let's just go dead simple. We don't even want error checking. Let's just grab one of these and let's just throw it in. I think we're going to have to add some stuff to... we don't need this class. We don't need these classes. It's going to break because we will, and this will be placeholder will be title, and we don't want a value, but it won't find it because we haven't added the material component yet. Title and then description. Right, so what we need to do, if we check in here in the API, it's going to say we need to import mat input module. So now if we go to the module, we can add it as an import and we can put it under mat card.
I'm taking my hands off the computer because 1 minute to go and I'm not going to break something off for just adding another thing.
Mine's busted. Why is it not auto completing? Copy and paste. That's new. Not a good new.
Awesome magic. Whose magic was that? Yours?
This is not playing ball. I don't want to broken.
I might actually start giving you a countdown because I'm not willing to break my code. So you have 40 seconds right now. 40 seconds, go. No pressure.
I've got a blank page. That can't be good.
Do you want me to pair with you?
This should be working.
I'll pair with you for the cost of half a heart.
Of course, for half a heart. What's the interest on it as well? Have I busted it?
How's everyone doing? I'm watching the screen here as I can see Eddie checking the material docs right now.
I shouldn't need anything in the TS file because I haven't got anything to display.
Come on, you can do it. You can do it. There's only 4 seconds left. 2,
I can
1.
do it.
The alarm is gone. Time's up.
I think I just need to rebuild it. I should be allowed to just rebuild. Let's just look. Let's have a look.
Go on then.
Rebuilding, come on.
I'm feeling smug here
Awesome magic.
just because the first episode, I was broken at the end of it. Will you stay broken or will the build fix it?
Well, that was just a blank page.
I am giving you overtime right now, so you're losing half a half your overtime.
Come on, no one can see you. They're losing it though. So it's good. Right, let's have a look. It is a blank page.
It's still a blank page.
But that's fine because the other pages hopefully will still work. Yes.
I'll tell you what.
Phew.
How about we do a quick run through what you've got to at the end, what I've got to at the end.
Okay.
And just see what everyone does. Go on, you go first. What have you got then? What can you show us? Your full stack blog that's now talking to a back end. Go. What have you got?
So we have the homepage. Woo! It's Halloween, right?
It is. Where's your Halloween ghost?
Oh, we haven't got Halloween. We've got thunder. Woo! I don't know.
I think it was quite a loud crack of thunder,
was
that one.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got a homepage that says my blog on it. That's pretty cool. But we're going to make it cooler by clicking on the list page, and it actually lists 3 blog posts. And I want to prove to you.
Are you sharing your screen?
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen.
There you go. Turn your camera off because the camera takes priority. Go on.
Let's start again.
You missed Eddie's homepage there.
So
probably.
my awesome homepage. No one told me in the chat that they couldn't see my screen, but now you can see it. So right, you got the homepage with my blog written on it. I'm not going to make the noises again. And then you have the blog list where this is actually read from the database. So if I go to network traffic, you can see it actually reads it, and you can see the 3 results. So it's actually reading it out of the database. So from the API all the way to Elasticsearch. And if you click on one and you don't look at the console, you can see that title 3, the blog post of title 3 has been selected. I can go to title 2, and I go through title 2. So that's gone all the way to the back end and getting the data. There is a freaking error saying image undefined, and it is undefined, but I've wrapped it in an ngIf, so it shouldn't care. And on the list page, the same code works. So I don't understand why when I go into the details page, it causes a problem. But that is what I've got. I was doing the ad, and if I click on the ad, you get a lovely blank page.
Perfect.
You
That's
were-
just what you want for adding a blog.
You were meant to get a form, and I don't know why that breaks, because there is no error. So that's really strange. Let me just show you some code. So this is the form. We've got form, mat form field, and then you've got input, mat input, and that's really it. It shouldn't be broken. It was showing. I mean, let's just prove that it's the form. Because if I delete the form,
Go on,
and write
I'll come and
hello,
have a look a bit closer with you. What's it doing then? Come
let's
on.
see if this
Talk
says
me through
hello.
it. What have you got?
So
Talk
that
me
says
through it.
hello, right? So the page works.
Okay, so
The
what have you not
routine,
got?
the page works. If I put the form back,
Okay.
it busts. But I reckon it might be the way of
Do you have an
encoding.
error on the page? Are you importing the material input?
Oh no,
module?
it's there. Look, it's there. Look at the corner. Oh, it's because you couldn't see it. Saved by the bell. It's there. It works.
But does it submit?
No, nothing happens. It's just a
But you've
form
got a form
display.
field that is largely invisible when you start the page, which is the perfect way to build a website, to have invisible form fields.
Look, it goes away, but if you click on it, but it animates going away. It's Halloween, right? So it's like, ooh,
Right, and he's built a ghost form
ghost form. Yes.
with one field that doesn't submit anywhere.
Yes.
So it's like you're just going to send something into the ether.
Well, you can't even send it in. You can type it, and that's it.
There you go.
That's how cool it is.
Awesome.
So on that note, let's go look at Andrew's. And so I see what magic he's been
It's
using.
not that much more magical.
Cat images to get some extra brownie points. So don't
Everyone likes cats.
don't-
You get bonus points. for
don't
cats.
fall for that. I actually went to a talk at Web Engineering, and there was it to say that if you have 4 cat images, you're more likely to get 40% more positive votes.
Perfect.
And I was like, that's why I laughed when you were using
Perfect.
cats.
Especially seeing as Bite is part cat as well.
That's true. And part something else.
Dragon
Yeah.
and
okay.
fox and
And
a few
everything
other
else. Let's switch to Andrew's screen.
things. Cool. So mine, because I don't have material, is not quite so fancy.
Mine looks really pretty.
And this is where I will probably fall behind in the final episode if we're going to go for trying to make things pretty, because I'm going to have a hell of a lot of work to do without having a design framework there. But functionally, I have my list, which is coming from my back end. So I have the blogs that we created last week, which are the top few, which we updated, and the image is all the same on them. Because, I mean, that cat, I mean, come on. It's a bit cute. It's kind of looking at you going, love me.
Did you take the picture is the question.
Did I take the picture?
Yeah.
From where?
As in, did you take the photo?
No, I don't do photos. That's your job. You're the cameraman. And then we have the ones we added today. So we've got Byte down the bottom with a test 2, a test 3, which is also called test 2 because I probably wasn't thinking. But anyway, yeah, they're all created. I can see the dates down there. So they were all done several minutes ago. And if we go to the top, I have actually, let's click into one of these. So I should better click on one. Say view more on this guy. There he is, test 2, which is good because I hadn't checked that was working. So that does work. And I can see the correct picture of Byte. So it is the right one that's opened up. And I have a create option at the top, which takes me to 2 super basic fields, but I can populate those. So let's put a new one in. Finished, let's call it. And then we'll get another picture of Byte because I love my pictures of Byte. He's like becoming my friend, this guy.
Just now, he's been my friend for ages.
Well, title, image, hit create, and on create, it goes back to the list, and at the bottom of the list, I know it should be at the top, that's something that's an improvement, but at the bottom of the list,
Nice.
there's Byte saying finished, and his little zen, we're done, time for yoga.
That's pretty
That's
good. Doesn't look as
And you
nice
will
as
also
mine,
see
but it's
one
more
other thing that
functional.
I did whilst Eddie had taken the camera at the very end is that on the create, down the bottom here, I've just done a console log just to prove that when we hit create, and I'll just go into the code a little to show this, when we hit save, the return is now returning the blog. And to do that, in the roots here, I've added an additional step. So on create, it then does a find one, which is the same find one we use to return one. And on the controller, the change is to call
Nice.
next and just set the blog ID to the blog we've just created. So if I wanted, I didn't have to go back to the list. I could have probably gone somewhere else or done something with it. But that was just a little brownie point for me to.
Can you
to
click
throw
on
that
one
in.
and view an individual?
Yeah, we just did that a moment ago. Go on, I'll click on finished. See,
So
we're
when you
even more finished now. We're done.
so when you create it, you could go to the
We could go straight to the view page if we
Yeah.
want on the create. Yeah, there's there's options there. So
Nice.
working code. So
Who's the winner for today?
well, points wise, for starters, I had a working form that lets you create one. So I think for that I get to take one of Eddie's hearts away.
Okay, well, I agree.
Okay. So I had a working create form. Eddie loses a heart. What else
Mine
can I
looks
call
prettier,
Gibson?
so you should lose a heart.
Hang on. Yours looks pretty. Yours is hidden. It's like a bloody ghost.
Just a
I
form.
think because a user cannot use your form, I'm going to take a heart from you.
It's
Because
an Easter egg
invisible.
form. It's an Easter egg form. Only the cool people know about it.
Okay.
No one saw us removing
No
the
one
hearts.
saw removing hearts. Sorry.
This having not the camera
well,
showing.
for
really
that,
hard.
I'm going to take another heart.
That was a heart from you. That's a heart from Andrew for effing up OBS.
We'll just keep removing hearts because I've got plenty of excuses. I'm going to be nice.
So who's winning?
Well,
It's a draw
that
so
puts
far.
us even now.
So we need a
Ooh.
deciding factor. So Venkatesh,
Either that or we we allow draws. I don't know.
I don't know, Venkatesh, if you're still there, who do you think is the winner from today? Who has
Functionality or
looks good?
does it really? It's not
you-
usable. If a user comes,
My list looks good. It's got pink.
okay, you have one page that sort of looks good, but it doesn't. There's so many things from a design level that I can still argue about.
True. Okay. So what else happened today?
I'll give it to you. Yours looks better because materials.
Okay, and I will take off one of my hearts because you did have the screen more today. You had more screen time.
I'm not sure that's really a heart-worthy thing, but fair
I
enough.
was just trying to throw you a
lose
bone.
some life. I know, but it seems fair to me that was all right. Well,
Okay.
go on. If anyone is actually paying attention, who would you call the winner? Say now. Who do you think should win overall this week? If we don't hear a response in the next, got to give it time. Let's say the next minute.
Okay.
Then we're calling it a draw.
Put the alarm on. So it's the minute alarm, and otherwise we'll call it a draw. So let me put mine on the screen again and just quickly show you. Not the ghost form, not the list. I don't know what to show you because the rest of it.
Shall I show mine instead? I think
No, wait,
that
let me
just
show
proves
mine.
who's better.
Okay, so this is mine. This is the list, and then when you click on it, you actually go through to the blog post, the right one. So I clicked on title 2. If I click on title 1, it goes through title 1. That's real data out of Elasticsearch. Perfect for blog posts. And I have to switch to Android.
Elasticsearch is what you really need for a blog.
It is because you can search them.
You can search with Mongo. It
You
has
can-
full text search and everything. The difference comes, I think, when you hit about 4 billion records. Elasticsearch starts to have a slight performance increase because it doesn't require quite so much RAM at about 4 billion records.
4 billion. That's a lot of blog posts. I think it's about 14.
When I looked at the stats, it's about 4 billion you have to get to before you actually see a performance or anything else difference.
You have got pictures, so yours is going to get some more votes. I think you should show yours now. So you've got that's the blog details page.
That's the blog details. This is the blog list.
You got cats. Oh, those cats! You're going to get extra points for those. I'm
Obviously,
sure.
the cat is the same because those 4 entries are done last week before I could actually put my own data in, which I can do now. So I have pictures of Byte, which I could argue they need to be tidied up a bit because they're a little pixelated. We can probably make design improvements there. I'm going to have to put my design hat on in a couple of weeks from now and see what we can do with it. But yes, we have a list. I can create an entry with the world's simplest form.
It's not a
and,
ghost. It doesn't look as nice as my form.
Obviously, I can click into one of these. Let's say hi. There we go. There's Byte waving to everyone.
Okay, so Eddie loses.
Ah, yes.
Thanks. Wait.
Thank you, Vela.
Fella,
You are my number one.
yeah, okay, I'll give it to Andrew. Okay, so I'll remove another heart from mine. There we go. Vela had a deciding vote, but I won last week.
I think we're now at 2-1.
I won last week or the week before. I won the first one.
You won the first
You
one.
won last week.
Yeah, it was a very close call again last week. So we've had 2 really close calls
Which
here.
week?
What you see is what you get.
Yes, true, exactly. So, okay, Andrew's got 2 in a row, 2-1. Okay, so next week is going to be my week. I want to bring it back.
Testing next week.
testing. Cypress,
It
cucumber.
will be quite testing, that's for sure.
Yeah, it will be. What we're going to use?
Well, we'll have to decide.
I
Is
gave
it
first
back-end,
comment.
front-end?
Oh, Venkatesh did. Sorry,
You did,
Venkatesh. I
Venkatesh.
missed yours.
It was a let's declare it a draw. But
Oh, I like that answer. That answer's better. No, Andrew won it, fair and square. But thank you very much, Venkatesh. I'll pay you later. Yes, and Venkatesh will win. We'll win next week, and you all help me.
We'll
win.
give Eddie more screen time so everyone can shout at Eddie.
And help
And
me.
we'll have to decide. It doesn't matter if it's front end, back end, or whatever. Is it just
We should do
purely going to be?
end-to-end.
Because the hard part. Because what would be a
End-to-end
great
testing.
one would be to say code cover. What's the coverage like? Would be a good test, but that adds another dimension of difficulty to get coverage working.
We should do just. We'll see end to end. Or you could try that. Andrew should try code coverage next week.
Eddie's microphone is just accidentally broken.
Andrew was basically, his subconscious was he's saying he wants to do code coverage next week, and we'll do vanilla Cypress. Well, not vanilla Cypress. We'll do Cypress with cucumber.
Yeah, we'll certainly get some cucumber. We'll get some cypress, I'm sure.
And you'll
we
do some code
could have
coverage.
one of us focuses front and one focuses back end and see which is easier. But it's a difficult one. I think let's
True.
just see what we each prefer to start with.
Let us know
I
what
do
you
like
think.
the front end down because you get well,
full
you
stack.
could get the full stack potentially.
If you don't mock it
but
out.
it comes with its own difficulties if you're not mocking things. Having that layer there. Yeah, anyway.
Well, it'll be discussion for next
lots of
week.
Discussion for next week there.
Do leave us comments below after the video of your ideas of what we should try and do for automated testing next week, and some of the details: front end, back end, mocking, no mocking, all those sorts of fun, good stuff. Let us know what you think, and we look forward to catching you next week for another CodeKombat.
Yeah, have a good week. Don't forget, we will be pushing our code up onto GitHub. So if you want to have a look at what we've been doing, you can keep an eye on things there.
And if you want to improve my code and help me out, then I'll be more than grateful.
I'm sure one of the first things Eddie could do next week is review pull requests. So if anyone wants to do all of Eddie's tests for him, no, hang
Anything.
on.
Actually, get my form working is fine with me as well.
Yeah, get the form working. Yeah, feel free to submit things through. We will. Do we will? I don't know. As long as it doesn't put somebody massively ahead of the other, I think we might allow some pull requests.
Yeah,
we
I
could
think for me it makes sense.
It's open source.
Fun session, loved it. Thanks. Thank you all for joining. I've got a
thank you.
button here before we go. I've got a button that says robot. I can't remember what that does. I just want to press it. I think it's some robot sound.
It'd be another
or something.
sound effect. This is the downside. Well, you've got to watch out because if you turn it off straight away, they only hear like the first fraction of it.
Oh, okay.
You've got to keep it playing. I don't think it might be on loop.
I don't
Might be
know.
on
Like,
single.
what does that sound like? I have no idea. And we didn't do the spaceship one either. Well, we'll figure it out for next week and we'll see. But I'm glad
We
it was a
were
fun
thinking
stream.
as well for sound effects. Do you reckon we could use some of the Mortal Kombat sound effects as well?
Do you know what would be really good to do that, but also make a real-time Angular Firebase app where you can control the sound effects? Oh my god, that would be amazing!
Maybe the next CodeKombat season could be around doing something a bit like that. We could build who can create the best interface to allow the viewers to control what they're seeing.
What do you
Maybe
think?
that's the next season. The
That
theme
would
of the
be
next
so
season.
Cool, like a user engagement app, controlling the sound effects and maybe controlling whose screen you want to see, and then you could calculate the time. Who gets more screen time? They want to see more Andrew's screen or my screen time.
Oh, this is getting complicated.
This is
really
getting
quickly.
so good. I reckon we could do that in 1 hour or 5.
Well, we thought
10.
the blog was going to be quite easy, so
Yeah, but now we've mastered. I can convert my blog into that app.
sounds good.
The ideas.
Sounds good. We have a lot. That's the problem. We have so many ideas. There's not enough time.
Let us know what
We need
ideas
people to
you
come
would
and
like.
join us. Come pair with us, and we'll do that for a season
That
as well.
sounds good. Awesome. Well, have a great evening or great day wherever you are in the world, and we'll leave you in peace.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week, but keep in touch, and we'll chat some stuff.
And by all means, tell your friends to join in, because the more people that are viewing is awesome.
Yeah, and
Cool
Vela
idea,
says,
yeah.
let's do it. Let's frickin' do it. Code Mortals out. Where's the end button? Is it that one?
And yeah.